whatnot. Just a few, I don't know if you call them highlights, but just to take the journey again together. In early January, what's known as Black Summer down in Australia, where during the wildfires, 72,000 square miles were taken over by wildfires. About 10,000 buildings were destroyed. 103 billion Australian dollars were a part of that relief and recovery effort. And that was just January. One of the things that, of course, was quietly happening that we didn't realize it yet. I'm sure you've read some of the public health reports, but the beginnings of COVID-19 and the coronavirus were really starting to percolate outside of Wuhan right around New Year's Eve. So didn't know it yet, but that was on the way. This is, of course, the image of the year. I don't need to say a whole ton about this. I will say just a fun fact, it's probably the only fun fact when it comes to coronavirus, is two University of Georgia graduates, Alyssa Eckert and Dan Higgins, both graduates of the Lamar Dodd School of Art, and who are today medical illustrators at CDC. It's those two bulldogs who are responsible for this image that you know so well. So that's about the only thing that's fun about coronavirus, but go dogs, I suppose. But this is the year, and when we think of 2020, we're probably going to think about this. And so this was, as a result of which, this was the year of best laid plans, to quote Robert Burns. Let me just give you one example from Creature Comforts. We released not only this beer, but this community impact program, not unlike Get Comfortable, called Brew for One. We at Creature, we launched this program, get this, on Friday, March 13th. Which in the state of Georgia was the day before the state was shut down. So we all had to adjust, did we not? This was the year of adjustment. After plan after plan going off the rails, we all learned how to adapt and adopt despite new social distancing requirements. We turned to Zoom for basically everything, meetings for sure, but also our social lives. This is a screen capture from a Creature happy hour, which, by the way, does little to dispel the myth that when you work at a brewery, all you ever do is sit around and drink beer. That is not true. However, you wouldn't get it from this particular screen capture, but Zoom became the new marketplace, the new happy hour, the new everything. And this was a year of ingenuity, of exploring how your unique gifting can position you not only to survive, but even to serve. Again, just one example coming out of Creature. On April 9th, during the height of the shortage, we released our very own hand sanitizer. We used the World Health Organization's recipe because we realized, oh my goodness, we have receptacles, we have bottles everywhere, we have isopropyl, we have scientists that are quite good at executing a recipe, and we were able to convert part of our production line to start churning out hand sanitizer. And one of the other cool things as well is for every bottle that was purchased by customers, we were able to donate to Get Comfortable partners, as well as to governmental units and hospitals and doctors' offices. And we were able to donate through your patronage over 1,000 bottles to 39 different organizations. And here's the point. We were fortunate and we are grateful that we as a business were in the position to do so. Not every company was. As we moved into the summer, some of us were still straining to adjust. Others had to close indefinitely. And in that respect, it has been a very heartbreaking year. By early May, then came the murder hornets. That wasn't scary at all. I think Dr. Evil in this meme here really summarizes that. And on a much more sobering note, by the end of May, with the death of George Floyd came the cries for justice, which shone a light on old tensions and new questions. There's not a lot for me to say about this here at this time that hasn't already been said much better, but this was a very difficult year in that regard as well. And did we mention this all happened within an election year? So that was a fun night there. And poor Chris Wallace is probably still recovering. So it's been a wild ride, and here we are nearly at the very end of this incredible year that we will never be able to forget 2020. And so if you will, with all that in mind, because it's been a struggle and because we walked through so much together, if you will literally all just take a huge breath, and now I hope you're ready for some good news. Because in light of all that, I am convinced when it comes to a program like this and so many others, despite the local and global needs being greater than ever, despite the hardship that we've all come around together, I am happy to report that philanthropy and goodness and human decency is still alive and well. And why do I say that? Honestly, sincerely, because of you. Your generosity amidst hardship gives me hope. And there is something that has been quietly taking place amongst us this entire year. And so we can't wait to lean into that for the rest of our time today. But first, what are we talking about? I recognize that there are a lot of newcomers, a lot of folks who have never come to one of these events before that probably have some sense that Get Comfortable is a CSR program or a corporate philanthropy or something like that. So before we bring you news and numbers, I want to backfill this presentation just very briefly with some quick context so that you know why you are celebrating, that is to say. So let me back up real quick. Of the many, many, many thinkers whose fingerprints are all over how we do strategic impact here at Creature Comforts in a program like Get Comfortable, I wanted to share just one idea that we've stumbled upon this past year that I think just really sets us up for the rest of our time. It comes from the book Doing Good Better by William McCaskill, which is a fabulous book. I would commend it to you, but we've read it this past year and it just fortified so much of what we do here. But let me just pull out one idea. McCaskill writes, "We very often fail to think as carefully about helping others as we could, mistakenly believing that applying data and rationality to a charitable endeavor robs the act of virtue. In other words, data and rationality do not rob a charitable act of virtue, they fortify it. Charity can and really should be, we believe, be both rigorous and virtuous at the same time, which is why we use this expression around here. Rigorous is the new virtuous. If you want your altruism to be more effective, keep that big thumping heart, keep the passion, the world needs it, but add to it a little bit of cold calculation. We like to say that in order to maximize your impact, you must remain as dispassionate as the data, because the data tells you where the needs really are. So we want our philanthropic strategy to be rigorous for us and simple for you. Make serving simple. Social innovation is a moving target. It's multipolar. There's a lot of legwork necessary to get this stuff right. And we recognize once upon a time that if we, within the Get Comfortable setting, could absorb as much of that complexity as possible, it would make serving simple for you. Complex for us equals simple for you. And that's really the win, because ultimately we want every single partner, whether a private citizen or a business peer that's threading their generosity through Get Comfortable, we want you to feel, we feel responsible that you feel extremely confident that your generosity is going to meet the greatest needs. And so the mission of this program is very simple. It's to channel the generosity of many towards the city's greatest needs. We want you to feel confident in that. And I've used this analogy before, but it still kind of works. We want to be at Get Comfortable that lightning rod that concentrates and focuses the resources of many where they matter the most. And so this is how we do that, as briefly and as simply as I can make it. Here are the building blocks of strategic philanthropy. It starts with the expertise in the data. We want the experts at the table. We want to be looking at the best data. In terms of Get Comfortable, our expression here in Athens, here is the group that represents that council. Folks from our 20-year comprehensive plan, which is known as Envision Athens, local government, United Way Community Foundation, our needs assessment database, et cetera. And in Atlanta, since we have an expression to Get Comfortable down there as well, we have a mirrored group that have given their lives and their careers to understanding what is the data telling us. Once you have those expertise at the table, you can now decide what are the greatest needs, not big needs. There's big needs everywhere. What are the most pressing? Because it's only once you understand the need that you could then select the agencies doing the most to meet it. So looking back at 2020, to figure out what are those big buckets into which we should be putting all these agencies and the specific programs themselves. The biggest gaps between existing resources and existing need in our two counties has been essentially access to healthcare, housing as related to homelessness, and food insecurity. And so once we knew what those needs were, what those receptacles were, we could then select the proposals from agencies that address those needs directly. And once we know who the agencies are, we can then determine what should we be counting to ensure that this program is winning. So this is the quickest version I can give you in terms of how do we make agency selections and how do we make distributions decisions. It's really on the strength of this methodology and frankly having the best community stakeholders and local leadership at the table with us. I say it all the time, I mean it. I want to be the dumb one at the table. We want the specialists speaking in. And so that's how we have formulated this program. And then the other huge, massive piece of what makes Get Comfortable tick and so effective, to quote the mission statement, the generosity of many. Those are some of the many. Specifically 66 businesses, as well as many private citizens have all done something unique to them to mobilize money into the Get Comfortable Fund. As you can see, Creature is just one of many at the table. We're just in the bottom right there. This is truly an us thing and has been for quite some time. And I'm going to show you this slide, and we've never really broken out this sort of data point before, but I think it's meaningful. We simplified it just so that this graphic didn't get too busy. But essentially what you're looking at there is 100% of all the funds donated so far in 2020. And you can see there are a lot of slices of that pie. Each one represents a business or even a private donor. And here's the point. Generosity looks a lot of different ways. We all have different capacities, but it all counts. We need you, all of you, to make this program as effective as it is, to align as many resources as possible and shoot them into the hands of those doing the most pressing work. Every dollar truly does count. And again, this program works because you are trusting us to take all those resources and employ it in the best possible way. So to say all that in one summary statement, Get Comfortable harnesses the expertise of local leadership, that top box A, and the generous resources of so many businesses, box B, to fund the agencies doing the most pressing work in our county and also in DeKalb County as well. That's the summary statement. This process is advisor directed. It's not self-guided. These are not Matt Stevens' favorite charities. I mean, I love them all, but it's better than that. This is a crowdsourced approach versus a DIY. And this is a community-centered program versus a cause-centered. We have built flexibility into this methodology so that year over year over year, Get Comfortable can reimagine what the most pressing needs are and how to address those through this program. So it's a bit of a novel approach to philanthropy. So with all that in mind, let's flash all the way back to the beginning of the year, January 8th. We had our launch event with Rob Todd and Jason Perkins and so many incredible folks from Allagash who came down. We launched the program proper back in February. There we are in the Athens tap room. And for the first time ever, we were able to launch Atlanta as well. That's at the Kimball House in the Decatur area. If you were there, you saw me nearly kill myself climbing that ladder right there to try to address that incredible room. That was a wonderful memory. As we moved into the spring, before COVID, of course, we were doing all the other elements that make It Comfortable so unique and effective, all these on-site activation pieces. What you're looking at here is some of the folks from East Athens Development Corporation and some of the kit projects that we and our customers were assembling on site. So everything was looking great and normal. And then came March and everything that came with it. By May, we did something we've never done before in terms of Get Comfortable. We instead of waiting till December to distribute all the funds, we took everything we had gathered at that point and we sent it out the door. We realized Again, the needs are greater than ever. Our partners, by definition, are meeting the greatest needs. We didn't want to wait until December. We wanted to get them as many resources in the present. And so back in May, and by we mean you too, we raised over $135,000 that we distributed. What you're looking at here is a drive-by, touchless caravan of celebration for some creatures and some of our partners that we got to drive by these businesses as we gave them these truly giant checks. They are officially 6 feet wide so that they comply with social distancing requirements. So that was fun to go around and surprise some of our agency partners that way. Here's Brian Bollinger from Friends of Refugees in Atlanta trying to, deposit that check. It's just a great image right there. So that is all to say, as we get into the specifics, and when you look at the distribution tallies since the beginning of this program back in 2015, and look at 2015, you start somewhere, you start small. The collective generosity has grown, and despite the times, and despite this year, you have helped us break a record during this year of all years. So drum roll, please. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna let Allie tell you that in just a second. I just want to close my time and say, you have been extraordinarily generous during a year that was extraordinarily difficult. And difficult seasons is when generosity and altruism and work like this matters the most. Y'all have answered the call, and I just want to say thank you. So with that, the specifics, and I will now pass the baton over to Allie Hellinga, our community manager, to tell you what y'all did and what's next. So Allie, take it away.
Well, thank you, Matt. And man, we need to start playing rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to present first, because you're always a very tough act to follow. But y'all, we did it. We made it to December of 2020. And many thanks for all of you for joining us today. I've been scrolling through all the little Zoom attendees while Matt kicked us off this afternoon. And I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see so many of you. I mean, bizarre truly doesn't even begin to capture the essence of this year, but working with all of you and observing your individual impact on the community, it's truly been a bright spot of my 2020. And as Matt hinted at, I'm super excited to share with you guys some really big numbers, a few very special announcements, and a look into our overall Get Comfortable community impact. So if you'll rewind back to February of 2020, when we first locked arms with 9 agency partners in Athens. These partners were, of course, Acceptance Recovery Center, Advantage Behavioral Health, Athens Area Homeless Shelter, the Athens Area Community Council on Aging, Bright Paths, East Athens Development Corporation, Mercy Health Center, Our Daily Bread, and the Western Judicial Circuit Treatment and Accountability Court. And y'all, we locked arms with 3 agency partners in DeKalb County for the first time in 2020. Great timing. And these agency partners are, of course, College AIM, Friends of Refugees, and Our House. And just by the sheer virtue of their selection as Get Comfortable agency partners, these 12 organizations are already meeting our city's most pressing needs. And in the midst of a global pandemic, the needs became even bigger. And as Matt mentioned earlier, we dispersed an unprecedented $135,000 mid-year disbursement as a down payment to our agency partners in May so that they could mobilize these resources immediately rather than waiting until just about now in the year when fundraising efforts conclude to really mobilize those funds. So about a month ago, I actually reached out to each one of our agency partners, and I gave them the challenge of providing me with just one fact or figure to showcase the impact of Get Comfortable in 2020 from either the mid-year disbursement or from the funds that they will be receiving in early February. And I just wanted to share with you some of their responses. So Acceptance Recovery Center says that with funds from the mid-year disbursement, they were able to support 50 Athens residents who were actively engaged in recovery throughout the initial months of the pandemic. our partners over at Advantage will continue their partnership with people living in recovery and Divas Who Win to support 93 Athenians in recovery support and evidence-based treatments. The Athens area homeless shelter will continue to support a family of 4 through their Bridge to Home program, which seeks to provide stable housing and childcare for an enrolled student's time at Athens Technical College. ACCA used mid-year disbursement funds to deliver 150 seniors meals for a full month, which equates to around 3,000 meals. Bright Paths has provided and will continue to provide virtual parenting classes to 130 families. East Athens Development Corp was able to provide over 300 free COVID-19 testing to our neighbors. Mercy Health Center saw an additional 150 patients in their pharmacy as a result of this funding. Our Daily Bread is now able to serve 32,000 meals with the help of Get Comfortable funding. And the Western Judicial Circuit TAC will provide 4 participants with safe and stable housing at the TAC respite for 5 full months. And y'all, it just keeps going. In Atlanta, College Aim was able to dedicate over 1,000 hours of financial aid counseling and guidance to first-year college students. And Friends of Refugees was able to provide 75 refugee children in the Clarkston area with an at-home summer camp experience, which really helped to fill the gap that was created as a result of the switch to virtual learning. And our house will provide assistance to 15 families who are impacted by homelessness as they make the transition into more permanent housing. And I could go on and on about the amazing work of our agency partners. These are just a handful of examples on how these funds have been or will be utilized. And y'all, we're just so thankful to each and every one of our agency partners for serving our community with their whole hearts and for serving with such grace and resilience during this past year. And speaking of our wonderful Get Comfortable agency partners, at a recent Community Wednesday event, Dave Ernest with Bright Paths shared the following sentiment with Matt and I. And he said, the Get Comfortable campaign is the most community-spirited and altruistic that I've experienced in my 34 years of nonprofit management. I'm horrible at accepting compliments. And so in the moment, I awkwardly smiled, said thanks, but I feel so humbled to be a part of this campaign. And Dave's sentiment has really stayed with me and given me hope when times have been tough and uncertain during this year's Get Comfortable campaign. And I mean, why did Dave say this? He definitely didn't have to, but I like to think that it's because it's ever so rare when the resourced and the needy meet in the middle to solve a grand challenge. And to quote from one of Matt's many, many book recommendations that have filled my shelves over the past year, a line in Irresistible Revolution states, when the worlds of poverty and wealth collide, the resulting fusion can change the world, but that collision rarely happens. But y'all, this collision is happening here, and we have each and every one of you to thank. So thank you guys for answering that call. I mean, I've said it once and I will say it again. We strongly believe that strategic alignment of funding is how we will tackle our community's greatest disparities. And that's why I'm so grateful that there are so many like-minded Georgia businesses and citizens who, through Get Comfortable, are willing to channel their generosity and expertise to where it matters the most. You guys are what makes Get Comfortable remarkable. And now I get the pleasure of sharing just some very exciting announcements with all of you. First, we're going to celebrate our fundraising totals for Get Comfortable 2020. So if you don't already have a beverage in hand, go grab one. After that, we'll reveal our 2021 beer collaborator for the Get Comfortable IPA. Trust me, your minds will be blown. Next, we'll announce our 2021 nonprofit agency partners in Athens and Atlanta. And lastly, I'll wrap by sharing some upcoming events and opportunities. So let's first jump into our fundraising totals. Every year, you guys see us share a very similar slide that showcases our Get Comfortable distributions to date. And actually, in preparation for today's presentation, I revisited last year's slide deck. And at this point last year, we were $54,898 shy of $1 million. So real drum roll this time, our Get Comfortable fundraising total for 2020 is $343,027.54. And in total, our total impact for Get Comfortable in 2020 is $513,121.22. And just as a note, the number that's on your screen right now, this includes our disbursement total from the previous slide, as well as our Community Wednesday kit projects, our programming costs, our strategic impact department staffing, volunteerism, etc. And this brings us to a very, very exciting update. In light of Matt's earlier announcement about us reaching $2 million in overall community impact in 2020, you can see that a major piece, and when I say major, I mean $1.5 million of that tally comes from Get Comfortable, and thus comes from all of you here on this call. So if you are enjoying a beverage, we want to raise a glass to you. And in spite of everything happening in the world, you all stepped up to make 2020 another record-breaking year in addressing our city's greatest needs. And we are just so grateful for the role each and every one of you plays in Get Comfortable success. So cheers to you. And if you would, please turn on your Zoom cameras and keep that glass raised in true 2020 fashion and celebration. I want to capture this moment with a screenshot, so keep smiling. Perfect, y'all look great. There's so many of you. Y'all, I'm blown away. All right, we're on page 2. Oh, Edgar, I see that Imperial Trop Haze. See some Trops, I see some Paradisos. What else we got here, y'all? Ooh, another Paradiso. Okay, I'm on the last page, y'all. Okay, I got everyone. Thank you guys for indulging me in that. You look great. And even after sharing those very, very big numbers, I wanted to let everyone know that there is still time to contribute to this record-breaking year by either grabbing some beer or making a monetary donation, but let's start with the beer. So in addition to support from our business partners, we here at Creature wanted to do everything in our power that we could to keep raising additional funds for our 2020 agency partners. And so on December 19th, we will be releasing a second Get Comfortable philanthropic beer brewed in collaboration with our 2020 beer collaborator, Allagash. This beer is aptly named A Force for Good, and all of the proceeds from this beer will benefit our 2020 agency partners. So be sure to drink up, do good, and give back by picking up your bottle or two of Force for Good when it is available in late December. Additionally, our fundraising deadline has also been extended to December 31st in light of this truly wild year. So if you're looking to make a contribution to benefit our 2020 agency partners, go forth. You can give on your cell phone via Venmo. Simply search at Creature Comforts, all one word, all lowercase, or you can give online to the Get Comfortable Fund through the Athens Area Community Foundation. And not to worry, all of this information can be found online at getcurious.com. If you're on our homepage, all you have to do is click on that first button that says Get Involved. And from here, you'll be taken to a complete list of opportunities to support the city you love. And the exciting announcements keep on coming. So every year since 2019, Creature has partnered with a new brewery to create a collaborative beer that serves as a primary vessel for Get Comfortable fundraising. And in 2019, we partnered with industry great Russian River And in 2020, we partnered with one of my all-time favorites, Allagash. And actually, fun fact, on my second day of work here at Creature Comforts, a team from Allagash was on site to brew the Get Comfortable IPA. And it is by far one of my most exciting and favorite days as a creature. And now I'm super excited to share that during our 2021 Get Comfortable season, we will collaborate with none other than Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Where do I even begin? We've long admired Sierra Nevada for their impact on the community and on the planet, and we're really looking forward to coming together over great beer and doing good. So we'll be brewing a hazy double IPA, which will celebrate our brewery's shared appreciation for Citra hops. And as in years past, 100% of profits from this release will go directly into the Get Comfortable Fund. And I feel like the question you all are asking right now is, Allie, when will this beer be released? We'll go ahead and mark your calendars for the Get Comfortable launch event on February 10th of 2021. Speaking of 2021, it's time for us to share our 2021 Get Comfortable agency partners. As y'all know, Get Comfortable is designed to channel the generosity of many toward our community's greatest needs. And in a year when the needs were greater than ever before, it made our advisory council's decisions tougher than ever before. I've seen some of y'all advisory council members on this Zoom call today. Y'all, we had hours of incredible conversation, a lot of homework, so thank you guys. And we are very excited to share our 2021 Get Comfortable agency partners in Athens and DeKalb counties. So in Athens-Clarke, we will be partnering with 8 agencies: Acceptance Recovery Center, who will use 2021 funding to financially support more individuals in recovery; Advantage Behavioral Health, who plans to expand upon their existing partnerships with their peer-led recovery center organizational partners, People Living in Recovery and Divas Who Win; the Athens Area Homeless Shelter, who plans to expand the capacity of their Bridge to Home program; Bethel Haven, who will utilize funding to expand Project Hope, which offers therapeutic services to low-income adults; Bigger Vision, who will use Get Comfortable funds to fully fund their Abundant Life program, which provides shelter, meals, and basic necessities to all participants; Family Promise, who will expand their new homelessness prevention program; Mercy Health Center, who plans to increase access to medical care for uninsured low-income individuals; and finally, Sparrow's Nest, who will utilize funds to provide care to individuals who are either experiencing homelessness or classified under the federal poverty level. And now for our DeKalb agency partners. When we originally decided to bring Get Comfortable to Atlanta for the first time in 2020, we had no idea what this year had in store. And as you can imagine, this year has dramatically changed our typical rhythms and touch points for Get Comfortable, especially when you're 60 plus miles away from your partners in Atlanta. But all that to say, we still very much believe in the contributions of our 2020 Get Comfortable agency partners, and we still believe their organizations are meeting the greatest needs in DeKalb County, which of course is why Get Comfortable exists. So I know that was a bit of a spoiler, but our Atlanta 2021 Get Comfortable agency partners are College Aim, who will use the funding to grow their Success program to support an additional cohort of college freshmen, which will ultimately double the program's capacity; Friends of Refugee, who plans to expand their services to meet more of their neighbors' needs for increased physical and mental health resources; and Our House, who will utilize funds to support their family services program with an emphasis on rapid rehousing and alumni support. And you'll also notice a fourth logo joining the mix in Atlanta, and this is Innovative Solutions for Disadvantage and Disability. So our advisory council was highly impressed with their proposal for Project Grand, which will provide an array of social service services to ensure that children remain in stable and loving homes and out of foster care. So Welcome to the Atlanta Get Comfortable family. And to all of our 2020 and 2021 Get Comfortable agency partners, please know we are incredibly grateful for the role you play in our communities, and we're honored that you look toward Creature Comforts as a partner in this work. Okay, and for this next announcement, y'all be sure to pull up those Google Calendars if you're a planner. So, some upcoming events for 2021. Our Get Comfortable campaign will kick off in Athens. We're hoping at our tap room on February 10th and on February 21st in Atlanta. Provisionally, we're planning to host these events IRL, as the kids say, but we will be monitoring and definitely prioritizing everyone's health and safety as we determine the venues for these events. And another exciting event to take note of is with the University of Georgia's esteemed Wilson Center for Humanities and Arts. At the start of this year, we actually partnered with the Wilson Center to highlight our collaboration with Allagash. The thematics in the discussion really centered around the uniqueness of craft beer, the story of Allagash, and business as a force for good. And this year, we're looking forward to doing the same thing in a virtual capacity with Sierra Nevada. And while we're still working to hammer out some details, I'll be sending more information to all of you shortly, but the conversation is sure to hit on topics such as environmental sustainability, diversity and inclusion, and community in the craft beer industry. As a reminder, more information about all of these events can always be found on our website, getcurious.com.